Hello and welcome to the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. I'm your host, the whiteologist, Mr. Blows Your Minds, and this is Black Minds News. Black Minds News is to report, articulate, translate, communicate, insinuate, develop, investigate, unveil, decode, spread the news, whether it's by news, video, website, or quotes from publications. As I articulate this information, I ask that the creator of the universe be here, heart, soul, mind, and spirit. Because why? The truth don't need no partner. As a descendant of the greatest people who created this place that we call the United States, we, the foundational black Americans, the bloodline historical lineage, the historical people known as slaves, we who call ourselves BADOS, Black American Descendant of Slaves. Some say Black African Descendant of Slaves. Others say ADOS, American Descendant of Slaves. We, the today's children, offspring, and present generation, we give honor to our ancestors. You know, the motto of my show is, I'm never gonna tell you what I heard. I'm only gonna tell you what I know. Today's date is October the 29th, 2019. Have you heard? Have you heard, right? Well, today's show, we're going to go across a theme. We got a theme, as always, with news. But there's a theme always in the news broadcast that we do over here at Black Minds News. We're going to talk about the history of Central Park. For those who may not even know the history of Central Park. But then I want you to also be paying attention to what's being said versus to what the true history is. Then did you also hear about what Bernie Sanders had said, right? The other day at the HBCU at Benedict College, when a student asked him a question pertaining to something. Well, we're going to take what was said by Bernie Sanders and we're going to relate to some of the things that have been taking place lately, and let's see if the advice that Bernie Sanders gives is it applicable to black folks if he had a black son, right? We also gonna touch on the fact that again, you know, there's been some tutti frutti, fresh and fruity, but not at IHOP. And we gonna talk about that as we go through. So again, this is the most hated show on the Black Corner YouTube, and stay tuned for this broadcast. Hey, how's y'all doing again? I'm your host, Mr. Blows Your Minds, and welcome to Black Minds News Report. Yes, I know y'all took a day off yesterday. Want to apologize for that. Because I had some things that came up that prohibit me from doing what I need to do. But today I'm going to make up for what I did yesterday, even though I did have yesterday's show. But I might end up chopping it up and doing another day. So anyway, first and foremost, you know how we got to do it. What's good, fam? Subscribers, old and new, what's good, family? How y'all doing? I'm glad y'all be doing to participating, coming up with comment, and doing all that good stuff. I want to appreciate each and every one of you for your participation. Passerbys, if you happen to pass by, this is the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. How do I say that? I've been in the business for 7 years. Used to get 250,000 views on one video. 50,000, 30,000, 20,000, you name it, I was doing it. Then that video I did of April 2014, April 1st, rubbed a lot of people in the wrong way. And ever since that day, they've been methodically getting this channel to cut down. Boy, they see the way they doing it now. For those who know how they do it, they don't cut you as they cut down. The way to get down 10 and take 10 away from you. But it's in between that 10, they cutting 2 and 3 a day. That's how they doing it. But anyway, we ain't in the business for that, right? We're just going to do what we got to do, and you just going to keep suppressing me. But again, that day to come, we'll get that check. You're going to talk about it then. So anyway, passerbys, go down the aisle, see some things that you might want to see. There's always a grand open over here. If you happen to go down the aisle, see something that you might make you feel some kind of way, remember that the motto of the show is the truth don't need no partner. Now, let me go ahead and get it all set up for you right quick here, right? Because I want you to, as this I set up, right? This thing that I'm setting up for you to hear, right? I want you to pay attention because, people always say that, we make up stuff about people, we lie, but they be right in our face. And they'll say things, and again, it's incumbent that we teach and tell. It's not racist if you tell what done took place. So I want you to stay tuned, have your ears listening, eyes seeing, and check this out right in front of your face, and then watch. I'm going to come right behind it about something in the story that just broke. Just in case you may not have known, check this out. Hopefully let's see if I can I get it to do it the right way? Let me see. Hopefully let's see if I can get it to do it the right way. Let me see. Let's see if I can get it to do it the right way. Hold on. Let's see if I can get it to do it. Yeah, I might be able to do it. All right. Might find a way to get it done. So, let me do this and be right back. Check this out. Hold on. Are we ready? I ain't bubbling, man. What's going on with y'all? There we go. Let's hit it. Whoa, what was that? All right, what's that? Some stuff going on, but we're going to get it. Let's go.
It is one of New York's defining landmarks. Central Park provides city dwellers with their need for green. It's where you can see free shows, free concerts, even free Shakespeare. Now, its illustrious beauty is undeniable, but its construction was no easy feat. It took 16 years to build during the mid-19th century. First, a few facts. The square footage of Central Park is about 6% of all of the land on the island of Manhattan. It's amazing to think that less than 200 years ago, this amazing urban oasis was once, aside from a few small villages, considered undesirable land. It was full of swamps, bluffs, and rocky outcroppings. But in 1853, the state government authorized the city of New York to acquire more than 700 acres of land, smack dab in the middle of Manhattan.
The park was built at a time of massive immigration. And it's perfect because tons of particularly Irish immigrants are coming to America looking for work, and this is one of the biggest public works projects in 19th century America. You've got thousands of workers, sometimes upwards of 25 or 30,000 people at a time, changing the terrain, planting, removing the soil, dumping it on the shoreline. It was a huge effort that took years to get this done. And in fact, it really isn't until the 20th century they're able to really see the vision, because it takes that long for the trees to mature. So early pictures of the park, the trees are little, there's lots of open space, it's not terribly elegant, it looks kind of barren. Now is we get to see the vision, and a true, proper landscape architect doesn't think about what you're doing for next summer, thinks about the next generation, and Olmsted and Vaux did it better than any.
But who were Olmsted and Vaux? Well, Frederick Law Olmsted was a landscape architect. He was the designer of the terrain, from grass to the trees to the plants and bodies of water. Calvert Vaux was an architect and designed the elegant bridges and structures. As a team, they designed many of America's most iconic parks, including Brooklyn's own Prospect Park. But how exactly did they land the gig to design Central Park?
First thing that is done in the early 1850s is they put out a bid for offers. And over 30 companies, 30 individuals get together and make proposals. Frederick Law Olmsted and Calvert Vaux teamed up and created the winning proposal. And they were given a huge sum of money, about $2,000 for winning. Every proposal had to have certain key features. A military parade ground, which Olmsted and Vaux said is the Great Lawn. A fire watchtower. They did the Belvedere Castle instead of just a simple metal tower. You had to also include a skating rink, which for them was the lake. What is most interesting is there had to be a series of transverses from east to west. They designed them below street level, so that when you were standing in the park, you wouldn't see the horses and wagons or smell them as they traveled east to west. And now even today, with buses, trucks, and cars, you almost know they're not there until you're right on top of them. The southern end of the park is the formal European style. And after the ramble, the big Manhattan schist crazy walkway, up mid-park, it becomes like the Adirondacks or the Catskills. This is a reflection of the state of New York. The South, well, it's Manhattan. Formal, proper, elegant. Up in the northern part, 86th Street roughly to 110th Street, is the rest of New York State. Rustic, naturalistic, mountainous, and gorgeous.
Now, the north end of the park is a perfect place to picnic. Olmsted and Box named this man-made body of water the Meer, Dutch for lake, as a nod to the 17th century European settlers who first inhabited the village of Harlem.
Black landowners booted in 1857 to create Central Park, honored with public monument. You know I'm going to say that again. Black landowners booted in 1857 to create Central Park, honored with public monument. This story is coming out of the Griot, October the 25th, 2019, and this is how it reads. An historic New York City village that was once home to a large black community is finally being recognized several generations after it disappeared. Seneca Village was a settlement of black landowners that spanned 82nd and 89th Street between 7th and 8th Avenue in Manhattan until residents were forced out by the creation of Central Park, Curb New York reports. The Central Park Conservancy announced Thursday that it will honor the 19th century enclave as a means to educate park visitors about the history of the site. The nonprofit will erect new signage in the park that will note where significant properties once stood, such as individual homes and churches. The signs, which will be on display through October 2020, also highlight the importance of housing, gardening, and other aspects of the village that define everyday life of the property owners at the time. Seneca Village was a thriving, affluent community of achieving African Americans within the horrific context of racist oppression of the 19th century America, said Karen Horry, the chair of the Subcommittee on Parks and Recreations at Manhattan Community Board 10. This exhibit helps tell their story, which exemplifies the resilience and fortitude of the human spirit when pitted against what appears to be insurmountable odds. Black Americans began to settle in Seneca Village around 1825, but were booted once the land was reacquired by the city through eminent domain for the construction of Central Park in 1857. To further stress the importance of Seneca Village, a monument honoring the Lyons family will be placed nearly 20 blocks uptown from its original location in Central Park. The Lyons were black American property owners and abolitionists who ran a boarding house for black sailors that just so happened to be located a stop on the Underground Railroad. The monument is reportedly part of New York Mayor Bill de Blasio administration effort to diversify the city's public structures, most of which honor white males. Since the structure won't actually sit in Seneca Village proper, many find it insulting. It's disrespectful and it's insulting. It's so incomplete, Jacob Morris, the director of the Harlem Historical Society, told Hyperallergenic on Monday. The naming or honoring of a person or an organization should be connected to the life and work of the person, he said. They're doing a $500,000 monument and they're putting them together with no real thought. Where is just as important as why or who? All right, so we are back, right? So, you've seen the history told by Caucasian about Central Park in the beginning, right? There was a news story about the history of Central Park. Oh, she was jipper, right? And never once was it mentioned in that whole interview about the part of black owners or the origins that came to Central Park. It was called Seneca Village. Seneca Village was a settlement, they say mostly, right? Mostly. You don't know, they want to give credit for everything, right? You know, you're going to have to shy it off a little bit. You weren't always there. You're not first, right? So, but it was African Americans. And at that time, we ain't going to talk about African Americans. We're going to say BADOS, ADOS, right? Right? Landowners that they said there was the borough of Manhattan in New York City, which is again, what they talking about again, what we talking about, this is Central Park. Now, according to the settlement, was located about 5 acres. As they said, as the article talks about, it was between 82nd and 89th Street. But when you heard them talk about in the video, they cut off the 82nd part, right? Did you catch that? They started about 89th, 86, 89th. They didn't want to talk about 82nd because, again, they didn't want to be truthful about the real origins of it, because again, they don't want to tell you that you was there first and then they use this, because again, sometimes some of our people need to see this, because again, we talk about how we want to do, we call it black excellence, and they want to talk about self-independence and all that, which is all great. But you got to always remember, in history, there's always been markers left for us to show us that when we thriving and building, that somehow mysteriously, like Frosty Lucky, Magic Lucky Charms, whatever it is, magically delicious, something happens to the fact that you no longer the origin, and somehow it just magically disappeared, right? So accordingly, it was founded in 1825 by who? Free blacks, right? The free blacks came there when it was called Seneca Village, and it was the first such community in the city. Now, they said this community had 3 churches, had schools, had 2 cemeteries, right? They said it had there's about 264 residents, right? Now, when you go back to the video where you hear the Miss Jipper was like, there's only a couple little cities, little people in this town. See, but you was mentioning that, but you once did not disclose the fact that who they were. See, that's why it is important that we have black outlets of media. This is the same thing why you talk about, or why Byron Allen says what he's trying to do, as I gave you the story a couple of days ago, as to why he believed again about his daughter and being able to, take that seat at the table, so he cannot have her to be in program by somebody else who has the vision of what they want her to believe who she is, instead of we telling who we are. So that's why it's incumbent on, even though we are on somebody else, but yet we try to articulate. But again, this is why I am the most suppressed show in the black corner of YouTube, right? So anyway, so we see that later the settlement came to be inhabited by several other minorities. So what happened is, now that they're starting to bring in other people here, they're now taking those again who are not classified as white yet, right? Irish, Germans, right? They were bringing them in. And you know what that was breeding up in there. We know what was going on. What was that? The gangs of New York, right? They were showing that, right? And so what's probably going on in there. There was a lot of turmoil, controversy, and things that was manifesting in that time. So what had happened is that Seneca Village existed until about 1857. So here it was. They was there about 32 years, right? Black folks got a chance to be somewhere for 32 years and probably was thriving, getting it and doing their own thing. Somebody said a grandiose out there. Now let's start putting this in there, and we got some plans down the line, right? So what ended up happening is they used the term in real estate called what? Eminent domain. Eminent domain. They don't care where you build it, right? Think about it. You can own the property, but you cannot own the land, which means that the land can be renovated for whatever the city plan or whatever futuristic ideas they got. We're going to offer you this money and you better take it, because again, eminent domain reigns supreme. So again, when our people are talking about getting places and building, you got to always remember this word, this term, eminent domain. We have seen it happen many times in history. So we see that they were ordered to leave their houses. They came and they tore them down. And then you hear in the video with Miss Jipper was like, and then they had the construction, and then the city was authorized. Then they authorized, and it was like, what do you mean talking about authorized? You didn't respect the fact that somebody who was already there. That it's not about what you want, it's about what you want, right? And this is what it is, right? And so what we see is the entirety of the village was dispersed, except for one congregation that they relocated. And to date, no descendants of Seneca Village have been identified. Of course they're going to say that. Of course they're going to say there's no descendants of Seneca Village, because why? You got a claim. You was forced out due to the simple fact that somebody else decided that this property that now, again, that they go and talk about all this, well, it's a good place to barbecue and sit out here and the good scenics. And then they're going to talk about these box people came and they had ideals and all. That would have never been able to take place if black folks would have been able to supplant themselves and stay there for the duration till they decide to leave. But you ain't got no say so, right? You ain't got no say so in there, right? So it goes on from being the existence of Seneca Park to end up, because think about it, they had also cemeteries there, people who are buried in there, right? So you think about when the Central Park 5 and all them brothers in there was out there rolling around. Now again, we don't condone the rogueness, excuse me, or the wilding, as they said at that time. They become a wilding. But we're just going to say that the real estate, the property, the land was kind of like something that probably resonated with them in there, why they like to go to Central Park. This used to be home at one time. But because of eminent domain and the idea that other people had to take you out and build it for something entirely different and gut it all out, so they took out the remembrance and make it a big park. See, gut out everything that used to be, and then now it's just one big plain land. We just going in there with resonating on top of whatever you did, like it's nothing, right? So it's just kind of funny that, here it is, 162 years ago, black settlements, again, between 82nd and 89th, 9th Avenue in Manhattan, used to be called Seneca Village. But many probably people would not have known that. They already tell you that. So again, as part of news, they had did it, and the Grill put the story out there. So again, I put it together because I want you to see from the perspective that they tell you, but they're going to leave that out. And that's the whole thing about we have to always be trying to inculcate to younger ones, fellow people, comrades, and so forth. Let's talk about that history, because they'll leave you out right in your damn face and be jipper all about it, as if they're not even lying. You understand? This shit was like they weren't even lying about what they was talking about, right? So there you go, a little bit right there. That's Seneca Village, right? Or used to be, right? But the funny part is, they can't find one descendant. What do you mean? So what happened? So we try to say something else. Maybe there's something else to that history, right? Maybe somebody, if you ain't got no descendants, how could there be no descendants? They just all died out because they got moved out, or what else took place that maybe give us a little digging we might just find. So there you go anyway. That was a little bit for you, right? Right, so you know how it goes, right? Yeah, I know how it goes. So I'm going to do this here. Now, again, as I was telling you in the intro there, I was talking about this, you got, it's presidential season, right? Presidential candidates are running around calling themselves trying to get people to, get in their votes, right? And so, this is the time right now. It seems like everybody seems to be vibing for the black votes. So they decide that they're going to have this forum, but they had a strict topic that they want to only talk about, right? And so let me, again, for those who may not know, let me put you up to a little part of what took place here. And then I'm going to... should I go ahead and just run the table? I might just run the table on this one. I got a little snipples, y'all, so kind of bear with me a little bit. So now let me go. Now I'm just do this. Let me do this thing. Let me do these two right quick. Right? Let me go and do these two, and then we come back. All right. So let me get this up here like that, and I can do it there. Let's do it that way. Do it the way I got it. So if I snorted, I'm apology for that. All right. So let me go ahead, set it up, and then let's go ahead and get it going, and we should be right. All right, something going on. What's going on here? All right, what's going on? All right. Thank you. Let's get it.
Civil rights attorney Ben Crump was here earlier. He's back. He's been called the African American Family Emergency Plan. Wow. He gained national recognition back in 2012 during the Trayvon Martin case. Since then, he's been by the side of many people seeking justice, including the families of Tamir Rice, Michael Brown, and most recently, Botham Jean. His new book is called Open Season: Legalized Genocide of Colored People. Crump examines how racist practices within the criminal justice system impact America, from police brutality to voter suppression. Ben Crump, thank you very much for joining us once again at the table.
Thank you.
You said that in the book you write, living in constant fear is paralyzing, demoralizing, can kill your ambition and your outlook. Racism is a tool in genocide. Genocide is such a strong word.
It is, but it is appropriate to draw attention to what's happening. Most people are thinking that we see another hashtag so often that it gets attention for one day.
Yeah.
Yes.
Think about all the hashtags we've seen in just this year.
And the crux of the problem that you see is what exactly?
It is certainly implicit bias, and what I really try to focus on in this book is holding a mirror to America's face to say, America, we can do better. This book endeavors to make all races confront our biases because we need to admit that there's a problem. You know, 1 in 5 black men in Tennessee and Florida and many of the other states have similar statistics are convicted felons. If it continues, they believe in the next 25 years, 1 in 3 black men will be convicted felons. And so when I think about the inspiration of this book, I go back to seeing the young people protesting in Ferguson in the aftermath of Michael Brown, Gail. And there was this one young man I remember specifically who confronted the National Guard who had the assault rifle pointed at him, and he said, go ahead and kill me now with all the cameras here. You're going to kill us anyway when they're gone. And he said, it's important that the world sees how you all are killing us. And that stayed in my mind. It's important.
Ben, a lot of people are uncomfortable having this conversation. How do we have it?
Well, it's a necessary conversation. We have it because we want to do better as a society.
But how do we really start it?
You start it by being honest. You look at the empirical data. We have empirical evidence here that we talk about those things, that even though black men make up only 7% of the population in America, we make up almost 50% of the population on death row. So you have to admit that one or two things, either black men or some terrible, evil, criminal-minded people, or our criminal justice system is racist and discriminatory. And I choose to believe that black men are no worse than any other man in America.
So here's the very hard part, which is implicit bias is a real thing. I don't think anyone would argue against it. It takes a lifetime, though, embedded in our society to become biased in that way. So how do you train that out of somebody in like a 15-hour session or a weekend or something like that?
It's never going to happen in a 15-hour session.
A weekend retreat.
Well, this is what happens, though. You have these implicit bias training. It's like a one-day retraining of everyone at corporations do this. Is that really going to do it?
But we're the solution. Each and every one of us is a solution. We know it's not going to happen in 8-hour session, 15-hour session. Every day we have to try to better ourselves. We have to look at situations where in the courtroom where black and brown people are sentenced twice as much as white people and say there's something wrong with that. We can't, as Dr. King says, see injustice and see evil and look the other way.
There's no bystander.
You have a chapter called White Men Are Not Shot in the Back, and you give several examples of unarmed black men who are killed, and yet there are white suspects who have done mass shootings that are still alive. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. Two things, Gail. Even whether it is hands up, don't shoot, black people, brown people are killed in some of the most unbelievable ways when they have encounters with police officers. Michael Brown was walking, hands up, don't shoot in Ferguson. Then you have Ernest Hoskins, who we talk about, a young man who was having a debate with his boss in front of his 3 employees, and his boss blew his head off and claimed stand your ground. And then you see Pamela Turner, who's having a mental illness crisis, and the police officer shoots her 5 times while she's on the ground and he's on his feet. And so you say,
then on the other side, you have Dylan Roof.
You have
who did
Dylan
the shooting
Roof.
in Charleston, who's alive.
Shooting in Parkland, Florida, and white men who are confirmed mass murderers are arrested and protected.
Arrested
in Dylan Roof's case, they take him to Burger King after they know he's killed 9 of the most innocent people you could ever find. But Stephon Clark, Philando Castile, all these black men, if they move a certain way, they are shot and killed. And so it's the implicit bias that we have to not fear one another. We have to reach out to one another.
Well, you have solutions. You say change the focus of criminal justice reform to transformation. Yeah. Rethink incarceration, think successful rehabilitation.
Absolutely. There's a better way that we can make this world better for all our children and let them know that all our lives matter. I honestly think, Gail,
all our lives matter, yeah.
All our lives matter.
And there's no such thing really as sitting on the sidelines on this one. That in itself is taking a position. Mr. Crump, we appreciate you being here. The book, Open Season, is on sale right now.
Bernie Sanders advises black drivers to be polite and respect cops so they don't get killed. You know I'm going to say that again. Bernie Sanders advises black drivers to be polite and respect cops so they don't get killed. This story's come out of TV One or One News. Looked like it was done October the 27th, 2019, and this is how it reads. Historically, black colleges and universities have been an increasingly part of the political discourse as we get deeper into the 2020 election season. So it was for good reason that a national forum on criminal justice reform be held on the campus of Benedict College and HBCU in South Carolina, where presidential candidates have been jockeying for the black vote in particular. The Second Step Presidential Justice Forum kicked off Friday with Donald Trump being dubiously awarded for his criminal justice reform effort and continued this weekend with what media reports calls chaos over the fallout of the president's recognition at the HBCU. But on Saturday, things seemingly reached a crescendo of controversy when Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders was asked a question that seems like candidates should have been more than prepared for, considering the site was at an HBCU and the overreaching topic of the gathering was criminal justice reform. An audience member who identified himself as a student studying sports management at Benedict asked Sanders a question that by all measures should be pretty standard in 2019. If I was your son, what advice would you give me the next time I'm pulled over by a police officer? The student asked. But Sanders seemed to be a bit caught off guard, judging from his answer, which finally came after an awkward delay that included asking the student to adjust the microphone and repeat portions of the questions more than once, even though it seemed to be heard just fine by everybody else. Sanders' response in part by saying that he would tell his theoretical black son to get the cops' information in a polite way and respect what they are doing so that you don't get shot in the back of the head. Again, Sanders said this to a black audience at a black college in a state where candidates are vibing to secure the black vote. Sanders quickly followed that up by saying that America has got to hold police officers accountable for the actions they commit. Light applause can be heard following Sanders' answer that was caught on video and went viral on social media soon afterwards. As noted among the thousands of Twitter replies, Sanders' answer was problematic on a number of levels, telling black people to be compliant in order to save their own lives as part of the talk that many black parents give their children. Never mind that police still continue to kill black people with impunity and apparent immunity. But perhaps chief among those problems with Sanders' answer is that it seems to assume that black people who are confronted by police are not polite and do not show respect, a narrative that has repeatedly proven to be false after cell phone video footage often contradicts law enforcement accounts to the contrary. When former Vice President Joe Biden was asked the same question at the same event, he seemed to have the perfect answer. No one has ever seriously accused Sanders of being racist. In fact, Sanders routinely makes it a point to call Trump a racist. That's probably why people were finding it curious that a presidential candidate who has long billed himself as being a progressive voice offered what sure seems like an outdated perspective of how black America is policed. Sanders' answer was also exasperated by the fact that tensions on the black campus was already heightened following Trump's visit on Friday. The president arrived at the college just days after he tweeted the Congress impeachment inquiry into his questionable actions were a lynching. Still, Trump was implausible presented with a bipartisan justice award during the ceremony where just a reported 7 people in attendance were Benedict students. Only 10 honored students were invited to attend the event held in a space that can accommodate 300 people. The rest of the event attendees were reportedly invited by Trump administration, prompting outrage among students who protested the visit. Later that day, Van Jones, a CNN pundit, whose string of pro-Trump commentaries has prompted some to question his political allegiance, attacked California Senator Kamala Harris for saying she would not attend the Criminal Justice Reform Summit because of Trump's involvement, which she called a farce. Harris said wouldn't be complicit. When she heard that Trump would receive an award after decades of celebrating mass incarceration, pushing the death penalty for innocent black Americans, rolling back police accountability measures and racist behavior that puts people's lives at risk, and then learn all but 10 Benedict students are excluded from participating, I cannot in good faith be complicit in papering over his record. Jones in turn chided Harris' stance. Running away from a conversation has never solved anything. Jones tweeted, "Some people will abandon a microphone because they don't like the person who touched it last. Others are smart enough to grab the microphone and make sure they get the last word." All of that happened before Sanders answered that question Saturday, underscoring the criticism seen of social media that the senator would have been better off taking a different tack. Sanders recently scored the coveted endorsement of 2/3 of the squad, a group of influential freshman congresswomen of color, New York Rep. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Minnesota Rep. Ilhan Omar, sworn enemies of Trump, both through their support behind Sanders' presidential bid. So far, polling shows that black voters have preferred Biden and Sanders to the other Democratic presidential candidates. According to the latest polls in South Carolina, Sanders was in 3rd place behind former Biden, commanding lead by double digits over Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren.
Senator Sanders.
Great.
My question is, my name is Jamel Lawton. I'm from Bamberg, South Carolina. I'm a management major. My question is to you, what advice would you give me the next time I pull over officer?
Be a little bit closer.
I'm sorry. If I'm your son, what advice would you the next time I be pulled over by a police officer?
Next time you pulled over by a police. I would do my best to identify the police officer is in a polite way, ask him or her for their name. I would respect what they are doing so that you don't get shot in the back of the head. But I would also be very mindful of the fact that as a nation, we have got to hold police officers accountable for the actions that they commit. And that is, so to answer your question, I would be very cautious if you were my son in terms of dealing with that police officer, but I also defend my rights and know my rights and make sure, if possible, that police officer's camera is on what goes on.
All right, so we are back, right? So, some of you might be like, Ben Crump. Yeah, Ben Crump. We know we got to use when they can get it. Now, again, we know that Ben Crump is being in a situation. It seems like we just don't realize how he's there. He's the man, but he did come up with something that, again, would be appropriate for where we need to go according to this discussion or laying out this news, right? So you see that Ben Crump had got on CBS there with, got spit on by R. Kelly, Gayle King, right? And we see that Ben Crump is coming out with a new book, and his book is pertaining to the fact that he believed that this genocide on, well, we gonna tell what you think, we gonna tell what you know. Genocide on black people dealing with the interactions that's seen with municipalities, right? And so as a lawyer, one who has a lot of, again, I've never seen him in the courtroom doing the case. I've only seen him as representing the family, right? And him having profile cases, high profile cases that everybody pretty much knows. So, matter of fact, just in case somebody who may not know what I'm talking about, let me show you some of the people that Ben Crump has represented. Let's see if I got all that. Okay, let me see all his clients here. Let me see. I think I got all his clients on here. So, see if I can push that up here for you. All right, let me see if I can get that all up here. Right. So let's go. So you see, there you see Tamir Rice. You see Michael Brown. You see Trayvon Martin. And you also see Botham Jean there, right? Right? So those are high profile cases that is attached to Ben Crump. And there's a lot of other ones that didn't make the national attention, right? He talked about other ones and so forth, right? And so what you see is that he's saying that, as Gayle King said, that Ben Crump should be the African American emergency plan. He's there in the car, just break the glass, case of emergency. This is the dude you call on. Right? Okay. Hyping it up, right? Well, okay. Anyway. So we see that he, again, as he's saying, is that he's bringing this book. It's called Open Season, The Legal Genocide of Colored People. Now, again, he's saying colored people. A lot of people going to have problems with saying colored people. Wait a minute. Okay. Now, I know my Moors in here going to have a problem with me saying black people, right? So, yeah, you know, you're not going to be able to get everybody. But again, colored, I thought we done advanced over that. But again, you know, nobody just want to out-say black people, right? We're going to say color because color can encompass other people, right? We don't want to be solely, we want to be all-encompassing. At least they do, right? And that's the way they be wording stuff. And so he talks about the racial practices within the criminal justice system that impacts America, police brutality, and talk about voter suppression, right? Now, I don't know per se if immigrants have that problem other than once you become legalized as a citizen, are you really suppressed in voting? But we as BADOS and ADOS have been in this land, our ancestors have fought all the way until, again, you don't start to get the vote. Now, again, some people go back and say, well, black men could vote in 18-something. But again, sparingly how many, right? How many was that? Was that all? Or was that just sparingly some, right? But we just going to say the game does not originate to you to finally get in, you know, quote unquote, you're all in now. It's still what the 65 vote, right? Right? So the first voting would be somewhere between what if you get in 64, you missed that election. So I guess 68 would be the first presidential election, right? So that means about 51 years, right? About 51 years black people been voting for president. Equivalent of that 4 divided to 51. We're going to say about what's that, 11, 12, about 12 presidents, 13 going on 13 presidents, right? So black folks have not been in the political scene as to putting in the, again, even though you don't put in, we don't even vote for that. So I guess I might as well scratch that too. But again, you know, that's the process we go through. They make it seem like that is. So anyway, you know, we as BADOS and ADOS, again, when it comes to the justice system, we look at it just us, right? We understand that that relationship goes back to, again, Patty Roll. And Patty Roll evolved and turned into what we call now police. KRS-One said it, officer, right? So that's what it evolved into, right? And so he says, based on the simple fact of this, you know, injustice system that impacts black Americans, that it has a constant fear and paralyzing. He said racism is a tool in genocide. But see, they don't like using that word genocide because it's saying that you are outright killing. And they say, we're not outright killing anybody. What do you mean? That is a strong word to be using. Well, again, as Ben Crump said, that, you know, we have so many people becoming hashtag. There's been so many of these situations to the fact that people are becoming hashtags, right? And so hashtags become names, synonymous, and not even a name. Right? It's kind of like, what was that movie with Tupac did with Belushi? And at the end, what all you became is a number. What is your number, right? It's not even a person or a name anymore, right? And so becoming a hashtag. And so, you know, and that collectively, you know, when you look at all these events, how would you define that? If people are in a country of 350 million people, and every day a show like Black Minds News could come on and talk about, again, you'll never hear, and I'll keep saying this, but black people who are trying to galvanize on the behalf of somebody that we can observe and understand the situation and believe that they are wrong. You don't see the advocacy on that. It's those situations where it looks like it just don't make sense. Again, Johnny Cochran has taught us, if the glove don't fit, you must quit, right? And so he said the reason why he decided to make this book is that he wanted to hold a mirror to America's face, so he believed we could do better. Now, again, you heard the white man in there say, you know, people are uncomfortable. How can we have this conversation? Wait a minute. We've been too long in this game to be now at this period of time for us to have to still sit here and try to tell you, get you comfortable with a conversation that you already know. It's kind of like the same thing with the HR 40 bill, talking about having a conversation about what took place so we can figure out how we're going to compensate you, whether we're not going to do it anyway, but we're going to pretend like we're doing it anyway. But so we're going to pretend like we really want to try to rectify the situation when really we already know what it is. But the thing is to make it sound good so that we can pitch it to people who are naive to make them believe and not understand that what he's talking about, is it really genocide that what Benjamin Trump is saying? Because when you try to look up that word, they don't, they talk about other things, but that word in itself, they try to, again, make it seem like it's something else, but not really what it is. So, he goes on and he talks about, again, he said, for all races to confront their biases. Now, again, it's not so much about the biases. Again, it's kind of like saying words, you know what I'm saying? People can say what they want, but it has a lot to do with policies and people with the status quo who say, well, I'm not down what they're doing, but they don't do nothing against it, right? So again, Martin Luther King has said onlookers, right? The worst thing to do is just to be an onlooker. Like you complicit to it anyway, because you're not doing nothing against it. You're not in opposition to it, right? And so they thinking that because we have these so-called, jobs will come with this sanction, we're going to do this diversity training. You come in for a day, you come in for a couple of days, you come in for so many hours. And again, I done talked about that in other shows. If somebody, as the white man has sat there and said, he said that this is what the white man said. He said, well, how does it, well, somebody, again, he agrees with your implicit biases that people will have. But he said, how is it the people who've been ingrained with this from cradle to where they are now, how can a couple hours or 8 hours be able to, rectify this situation? Ben Crump's like, it can. You know what I'm saying? What you thought I'm going to sit and say, yeah, well, keep more training. No. What is it about certain people that just can't see to understand that this is, again, like he said, each and every one of us has to be accountable. Now, black people have been holding too much accountability for a lot of people, a lot of shit everybody doing. When it's time for everybody else to stop carrying your own shit. Well, I think there was a term somebody said, hold your own nuts, right? Somebody made a little quote like that, hold your own nuts. Time for you to be accountable and hold your own nuts about the shit that one does. So, how does this go into with the Bernie Sanders? Well, I'm going to show you how that ties in with the Bernie Sanders, right? I'm going to show you how this ties in. And so, he goes on and says that America has to admit that there's a problem. See, black folks, black people on the YouTube, those black media in this corner sitting here trying to bring attention, and there are people who are doing their best to suppress it. So you have to ask yourself, honestly, I don't think somebody really wants to resolve it. You get what I'm saying? As much as people want to pretend, it's act like when the camera's on, the lights is on, and the microphone on, oh, what can we do? What can we do? You ain't really trying to do nothing. Right? You're faking the front. You're faking the front as if that's what you really. You ain't trying to do that. So again, you see that he gave a stat. He said 1 in 5 convicted felons. He said there's 1 in 5 convicted felons right now walking. 5 persons is a convicted felon. He said in the next 25 years, that number changed from 1 to 5 to 1 in 3. Right? And as a people who are only 13% of the population, but are the most mass incarcerated people, then you have to say, as Ben Crump was saying, he said, well, then black people, had to be the most heinous criminals on the damn planet. He, as a black person, said, I don't believe that. As a black person, black man, I don't believe that either. You who hear me, I don't believe you don't believe that either. So then, is it just a biased injustice system? But no one wants to admit that. And yet you can bring all the stats, all of that. You can bring all the stories. You can talk about all the hashtags and all that. But still, we're going to talk about what Bernie Sanders said, right? And said that, he talked about that situation up in Ferguson. And he said how those young men were up there protesting. And there was one particular thing that stood out that put a marker in his mind. He said it was a young man being confronted by, the police who out there protect, so he can't go no further, but had a gun to him. The young man was like, go ahead, shoot me. You're going to do it anyway after the cameras is off. We need to bring attention to the world that you out here killing us. Now, see, when you say that, people get angry. You know what I'm saying? You get angry at the fact that here it is, you're doing something, and there's a people who are taking it are supposed to say, Mom, quiet is the word. Don't say nothing about that. It'll resolve itself in time. Right? So, again, as that white man sat there, said a lot of people are uncomfortable about the conversation. And how do we start it? He said that 71 of the population, no, he said 50% of, he said, here we are, 13% of the population, but we over 50% incarcerated for death row. Implicit bias, right? So now let's get over to why I brought that there, because then you heard Bernie Sanders. So Bernie Sanders says that here he was at the HBCU, again, the presidential campaigns was now going on black college campuses, because they need black votes to kind of solidify the fact that if they're really trying to win, because if you divide up all just the white vote, Hispanic votes, you know what I'm saying, the margin ain't going to be that great. It can teeter. So what one needs is to get the bigger portion of the black vote. But as the Black Corner YouTube been talking about, nobody wants to have that conversation. Nobody wants to talk about reparations. So what they're trying to do is backdoor. Now again, just remember, just a couple of days ago, I was talking about how Shaq is trying to bring pizza, Papa John, to the HBCU. And now here they come behind Shaq with the pizza from HBCU. And now there's another thing that came up too. The plus plan. I may talk about that, about how people struggling with parents with that plus plan, getting them loans has been tearing them all up. So pizza ain't the job. They need some money, right? So anyway, so the question becomes, a young man asked the question to Bernie Sanders, if I was your son, Bernie, imagine Bernie, you got a black son. Like you de Blasio, right? You try to be de Blasio. And I'm your son. What would you tell me if I'm accosted by the police? What is the talk you gonna have with me? Bernie got the same thing when they ask about reparation. What's that? What's reparation? What do you mean by reparation? What do you say? Get close to the mic. You know that old thing, those who've been around, when you talking to people, like let's say for instance, if you ever called somebody and they was on the other line, they not like you, and they hear you talking, and they try to act as if like they don't understand the words that are coming out of your damn mouth and try to have you repeat it. Huh? I don't know. I know goddamn well my ears hear me speaking. I know damn well you hear what the hell I'm there seeing. But they be doing that. She trying to readjust it to break your confidence in what you just said. You get what I'm saying? That's what they be doing. Trying to break your confidence so that you will readjust it. And he's trying to buy time, try to come up with the right answer, because you asked him something that, oh, wait a minute, police. Yeah, I know, but aren't we here about the political, wasn't the political forum about justice reform? And yet you know police and black folks ain't going to be a question about police nowhere, Bernie. You ain't ready for this, man. You're not ready. All right. So anyway, he goes on and says that the advice he would give to his son is what Mr. Blow Your Mind said about what we need to do at the end of every show, right? Cautious. I need you to be cautious out there. Wait a minute. Now, cautious is the yellow light. When you get through, it said proceed with cautious. You still have the right to go, but be aware that other people who sitting there, feet already led like a motherfucker, and can't wait for green and ready to zip past. You might just get caught by one of them ready to blast up out of there, right? Well, that's the same situation if you just happen to be just minding your own business, driving your own car. You ain't bothering nobody. You ain't broke no laws or nothing. But then here come Popo. Now, how do you proceed with cautious when you just doing your thing? It's it's on him. It's on this individual who's looking at you that think you suspicious. You done broke the law. He has the right to pull you over. All right. So you can be as cautious as you want, but you don't get to determine what's about to happen based on this individual and whatever biases and hatred and what all this other shit. You don't got nothing to do with that. So, okay, throw caution to the wind, Bernie. Say, know your rights, he said. Bernie said, wait a minute, man. Maybe in the community in Connecticut where you come from and those who would know your son, police and all that, and the fact that you wear the protection for the complexion, you might get away with. Because I think a lot of black people, a lot of young black people were seeing them videos and people in there, white people talking like, these are my rights and all. And you tried that shit. It don't work the same way. And some of you Moors, I know y'all be talking about that. You got to know your right, know the Constitution. But you run across that wrong one, you can throw all that shit to the caution, to the wind, just like that, right? You throw that rights to the wind. He said, tell that shit to the judge, right? Yeah, okay. He said, politely, ask the cop for his name. Right? You don't ask him for his name. Well, if he decide not to tell you his name. Huh? I ain't gonna see your badge number. Right? Yeah? Make me. You know what I'm saying? Oh, make me, right? Make sure that the camera's on. How do you gonna do that? How you gonna say, hey, come here, let me see if your camera on. Huh? What you gonna do like New Jack City? Started and got me! Yeah, partners, New Jack City say, Scotty, come and give me the got me! Right? That what you think that's gonna happen? So you can tell the other person, say, yeah, we in there, we see you, we on our way, come on, get him, help him, they gonna kill him. Hey, what? See? These conversations that y'all have no idea how to respond because it's not something that you deal with. You don't have the talk. You don't have the conversation. You ain't going through the same terrain that we as black people in this country go through. Right? He said, identify the officer. What? After you get your ticket, after you get the slip, after you get out of lockup, you might be able to get a police number badge or something then, right? They ain't always gonna work. It just depends. Now again, the whole thing is you got to be on pins and needles, walking on eggshells and walking on water like Jesus. Again, as Ben Crump saying, that black people are getting, the way black people out here getting killed is just, it's unbelievable the way that black people are getting killed in situations that seem to be that other people can go through, but somehow when it's black people seem like you're non-compliant, you're belligerent, you're always angry, and then you're the one causing me to respond in a way when 9 times out of 10, when after you, we're going to say 7 out of 10 out of the times that when we hear what's being reported, and then once the video come out, it'd be something entirely different. Case in point, I'm going to show you something. Right? Keep that in mind. Right? So he goes on and says something to the fact that you got to respect what they doing. Let me tell you something. When you driving in your vehicle, walking down the damn street, already the minute you see lights on car, signia, and the white man driving behind the wheel, he already got your attention. So once somebody gets your attention, they got your respect, don't they? Do I need to say that again? The minute the car is acknowledged by you, that you see it, and the lights, and the signal, and the white man sitting in the damn car, he got your attention, which means he got your respect. Especially if you ain't done nothing wrong, right? Because you thinking, right? Whatever you might be thinking. Because I can't make a blanket statement for every individual because we all are different. Our experiences are different. We deal with shit differently. So I can't blanket and say that. But you know what I'm talking about, right? So he goes on front of black young people and says, your compliance relies on the fact that whether you get shot in the back of your head. I'm going to say that again. Here he is saying your compliance is incumbent on the fact that will merely get you shot in the back of your head if you do not comply. Not whether you did nothing wrong. So if that be the case, then maybe there's a problem, as Ben Crump was saying, There's a problem that the mirror needs to be faced so that you can look at what the problem is, but you're not trying to do that because this what they saying now, the new term, if y'all haven't been noticing, you know, I do news, so I've been checking it out and I'd be like, oh, what's this new term? The new term is now they saying that I don't want to say police because it got a negative connotation based on all the shit that's been happening. They say first responders. These are the first responders now. Now, these first responders, when they come, right, this is the first response to any threats in the country. They're not going against it. Remember, I done told you they did this. They went out to do this drive to get money so they can go get the bulletproof vest for them. I don't know if you could go in other communities of color and see people doing drives that's going to be trying to get money, trying to give vests. First of all, they need money, so they haven't got money to be doing stuff like that. Not that the justice is not in good in itself, but it's just the fact that that's not what they do. Because we have a different kind of relationship than you do. For you, it's something entirely different. It has more to do with history and everything else, more than the fact it's just the fact that it's just a job. That's where the real hidden agenda is, right? So anyway, then he says that the nation has to hold the police accountable for their actions. And then you had some of them who, again, it should have been like crickets in there. You should have heard frogs chirping. Right? Nobody shouldn't have clapped on none of that shit because it was bullshit. He knew it was bullshit when he said it. So let's see, Bernie. Let's see. Let me go ahead. Let's see now that some recent stuff that just done took place. If they took your advice, Bernie, would this not happen to them or did they bring it on themselves? So let me show you. Let me show you these situations right quick. Let me show you something, huh? Let me show you. Like Michael Jackson, let me show you the way to go. Send it up. One more there. And I got one there. So let's see. Can I get this out there? Let's see. Hold on. Can I get it? Pause there. Pause that. There we go. Can I get pause? There we go. All right. So let's see if these people here that took Bernie's advice, what happens? So let's do this and be right back. Aurora PD says body cameras recorded but fell off during altercation with man who later died. You know I'm going to say that again. Aurora PD says body cameras recorded but fell off during altercation with man who later died. This story is coming out of Fox 31, October the 26th, 2019, and this is how it reads. Aurora, Colorado. The Aurora Police Department Deputy Chief says APD is looking into a new body camera company and new ways to keep the cameras intact when officers are engaged in physical altercations after cameras dislodged during a high-profile case involving a man who later died. It is not uncommon for cameras to come off. It is a common complaint for us, especially in physical altercations, for those to become dislodged, says Paul O'Keefe, Aurora's Deputy Police Chief. O'Keefe talked about the body cameras during a press conference on Friday in which he spoke about the ongoing investigation into the death of Elijah McClain. The Aurora Police Department says it will not release the body camera footage until the District Attorney Office allows it. We do not release evidence in pending cases, said Sue Lindsay, a spokesperson for District Attorney Dave Young. Although the footage has not been released publicly, McClain's family and the attorney representing McClain's family, Mary Newman, each had an opportunity to review the footage privately. Newman says she's suspicious that the cameras of 3 different officers dislodged and calls the actions of the police officer torture. Unless there is either an intentional effort to dislodge the body cameras or an extraordinary rough use of force, they shouldn't fall off because that's not what they're designed to do. But All three of them fell off here, and that certainly looks very, very suspicious, said Newman. Doesn't help us when it looks like something that is not, and in that case, the cameras fell off during the altercation. We want them to stay on. It would be helpful for us if they stayed on, said O'Keefe. O'Keefe said Newman's description of the officer's interaction with McClain is a mischaracterization. According to Aurora police spokesperson Anthony Camacho, officer wears Vivenu LE5 body-worn cameras. A company called Axon acquired Vivu in May of 2018, according to Carly Partridge, a communication manager for Axon. Axon told the Fox 31 problem solver that it is possible that the body-worn cameras can come off in a really rough scuffle. Axon also said it's designed its cameras with ruggedness in mind so that they can best withstand conditions including scuffles, extreme weather, and heat. It is possible for a body-worn camera to become unmounted during a hand-to-hand encounter between a law enforcement officer and a perpetrator. However, since 2009, when we began deploying BWCs to law enforcement agency, this has not been reported as a significant issue to Axon, the Axon press team wrote in a statement to Fox 31.
Today, family and friends of a young man from Aurora say they will demand more openness in the investigation into the death of a 23-year-old who had a confrontation with police. 23-year-old Elijah McClain was confronted by Aurora police back on August 24th. Police say they were called about a suspicious person wearing a mask near Billings and Colfax. Family told the Post, the Denver Post, that McClain often wore a mask because he is anemic and gets cold easily. Police say he resisted three officers. The Denver Post reports officers applied a chokehold. McClain complained he could not breathe, and later his heart stopped on the way to the hospital. He had a brain injury. His family made the decision to take him off life support a week later. There is audio of that incident, but police say the three officers' body cameras became dislodged, and video does not show all of what happened. Family and friends want police to release what body camera footage they do have and to open an independent investigation.
We start tonight with what police are calling a large disturbance in Aurora.
David Baker spent the final moments of his life.
Very prolonged, violent fight.
Face down, covered by police officers.
I've never seen anything quite like this.
Unable to breathe.
The tasers had absolutely no impact on this man.
In their reports, officers used the words unstoppable and raging bull to describe the Navy veteran, husband, and father. That's David's wife, Daisy, screaming.
I was telling him, I was like, David, stop. Like, listen.
Three officers had responded to a 911 call for help. David was trying to choke a family member. Police would say eventually he tried to choke them.
They were just hitting him, and I believe they tased him again. They tased him a couple of times.
11 times in little more than 4 minutes, to be precise, according to one officer's taser log.
I've been in this job for 35 years. Seen a lot of stuff, and this was one of the most violent altercations I have seen in my career.
Tasers, batons, we need more cars, shouted one. Within 10 minutes, more than 24 officers were on scene. Police reports show at least 7 were working to hold Baker down, face down.
He was just saying, help me. And I felt so bad because I couldn't help him.
No more than a few minutes later, an officer asked, is he breathing? They rolled him onto his back. Another officer said, I think we have a problem.
The ambulance came and they had picked him up. And that was the last time I saw him.
Officers assumed Baker was on drugs. An autopsy found nothing more than some marijuana. The cause of death, restraint asphyxia. In other words, Baker couldn't breathe. The coroner ruled his death a homicide.
And we are here to talk about the death of a member of our community.
The day after Baker's death, Aurora's police chief vowed an open investigation.
We want to make sure that we are providing the highest quality investigation and transparency.
Apparently, the chief said the same thing to District Attorney George Brockler.
Picked up the phone and called and said, "Can we please treat this like an officer-involved shooting?" And we did that.
But Brockler's office never did that, instead opting to send this 2-paragraph letter to Chief Metz clearing any officer of any criminal wrongdoing. It offered zero explanation as to why prosecutors came to their conclusion.
Nope, we got to teach you how to shoot. Look at how your dad shoots the ball.
David Baker had slipped into a deep depression in the years leading up to his death. In 2017, his wife said he spent months inside a VA hospital. Why he kept fighting that day, she cannot say. She was the one who urged her friend to call 911 that night.
Every day it's a struggle for me.
Now, she's left to wonder, what if she hadn't?
Yeah, I regret it. I regret it. I feel guilty. There's so much guilt. Because I feel if I would have never done that, that I would have still been here.
In a statement to 9 Wants to Know, Brockler's office said a thorough investigation was conducted, adding that they determined, quote, only a short letter to police was appropriate. Told the body camera footage should be released within the hour. Again, I saw that footage about an hour ago. Hopefully we'll get the opportunity to let the audience sort of decide for themselves as to how they view it. I can tell you it is a violent altercation with police, but again, we're hoping that body camera footage should be released within the hour. Again, prosecutors looked at this and they said no crime had been committed, but I also got to tell you that the family of David Baker has retained a lawyer in this case.
All right, so we back. Now, you might be thinking, or you could pick up, that was 2 different situations, right? It was Elijah McClain was one, and the other brother was a ex-military man that got caught in a situation. Family members got to one of those, want to kick you out, and got into a scuffle between the 2 men, and the police end up coming. And he ended up losing his life. He resisted. We're not going to say he didn't resist, but what they did, we don't know was it really merited, right? But the young man, you see, went into a convenience store and had a mask on, right? And you kind of seen the sister and the brother in the back. They tripping like him, man. They like he about to rob and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Based on appearance, you think it's my mankind. What's wrong with my homie in here? Coming here with a face mask. But he had a condition that he used that for, for health reasons, right? But based on observation, and again, the way that most people are programmed, when you see that, you go right into that thinking of there's something wrong. That's wrong. So somebody called the police. And in the encounter between him and the police, 3 officers, it says. 3. All body cameras fell off to not be able to record what happened. And the beating was so bad that he died later. They didn't talk about they even tried to shoot him to give him something to get him out of their coma. That's how bad they had beat him. But for some odd reason, they want us, those who are observing this, to say what Bernie Sanders said, to ask the officer to make sure that the camera's on. You see how them cameras came dislodged, to the fact that they even talking about, well, you see how we're trying to find a new camera company that would probably provide, stable and sturdy so cameras don't fall off. Everything, moving. So I don't it ain't me, it's somebody else. It ain't got nothing to do with that. Now, here was Aurora, Colorado. Same place twice. One situation, another brother got killed and a younger brother got killed, right? My one under the radar, nobody didn't know, but that had just happened again. Those stories had just broke. I would have already did it, but remember, I didn't do Sunday and then missed Monday, so I came on today, right? So, you know what I'm saying? Here's Bernie Sanders giving that advice to a black man, but again, what good is that kind of advice when you're still black? Because again, your encounter has to be with somebody, again, may have some implicit biasness, as y'all call it, and that may manifest into the death because of a lack of either a person, again, as Bernie said, trying to hold their rights when this person said, you have no rights. I am the authority, judge, executioner, and lawmaker right now. But that's not an issue. That's the mirror that Ben Crump wants to hold in front of everybody's face. But everybody want to acknowledge the fact that, no, that's not what it is. So, right? So, again, that's just what it is. It's a different world. It's like a different world back in the 80s. It's a different world from where you come from, right? It's a different world. So, what is the answer, right? What is the answer to this, right? This here, is this the answer they want? Maybe this is the answer, y'all. Maybe this is the answer. I'm going to let it play. I ain't going to say too much. I'm going to let it do what it do. I got some of that too. I think I got some there too, right? I think I got one more in there, right? So we'll go ahead and do that. Go there, and one more here. I think I got one more in there, right? I think this is the something right there. And let's go with this one. Okay, then we'll come back with that. All right, so let's do this, and I'll be right back. Maybe this is the answer, y'all. Maybe this is their answer to say, if you don't want what Bernie said, get shot in the back of your head, or have the encounter that you just seen. Maybe this is the answer. This is the answer, boy. I'll tell you. All right, let me see. Can I get ready? You ready? Got it ready? You ready? Okay, is it ready? Ready to go? All right, let's get it.
Uganda announced plans on Thursday for a bill that will impose the death penalty on homosexuals, saying the legislation will curb a rise in unnatural sex in the East African nation. The bill, colloquially known as Kill the Gays in Uganda, was nullified 5 years ago on a technicality, and the government said it plans to resurrect it within weeks. African countries have some of the world's most prohibitive laws governing homosexuality. Same-sex relationships are considered taboo, and gay sex is a crime across most of the continent, with punishments ranging from imprisonment to death. Uganda faced widespread international condemnation when the previous bill was signed off by Museveni in 2014. The United States reduced aid, imposed visa restrictions, and canceled military exercises. The World Bank, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, and the Netherlands also suspended or redirected aid.
Brandon T. Jackson said God punished him for playing a gay rapper. You know I'm going to say that again. Brandon T. Jackson said God punished him for playing a gay rapper. Says he depends on God's mercy to get back into the Lord's good graces after his role in the hit movie Tropic Thunder. Now, this story comes out October the 28th, 2019, coming from the Griot. And this, how it reads. Actor Brandon T. Jackson's been out of the limelight for a bit, and he thinks it's partly due to God's vengeance on him for previously playing a gay character, among other things. The Tropic Thunder star played Al Pacino, a down-low gay rapper in the hit comedy movie, and wore a dress in 2011 comedy Big Mama's Like Father, Like Son with Martin Lawrence. He told TMZ that ever since he assumed the roles, he had bad luck in life because he broke a religious law. Jackson, who identified as a black Hebrew Israelite, said he regrets going against God. I'm in covenant with the Most High God of Israel. So if you look at Deuteronomy 20, 22, and 5, I broke that law, he said. The Bible verse condemns men from wearing women clothing and vice versa, and cites it is an abomination to God. And when you break a law, you get punished, he said. If you don't follow all the commandments that the Torah says to do, you'll be cursed. Jackson said after assuming the role, he repented. I was on thin ice then when the Father, but he had mercy and his grace was there. Jackson believes although Tyler Perry had tremendous success wearing a dress as Medea, it didn't serve his purpose in a positive way. Said Jackson, it may work for Tyler Perry, it didn't work for me. Jackson's career was once on a roll. He starred in Roll Bounce, Tooth Fairy, and Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief. Playing a gay character is Tropic Thunder, should be in Tropic Thunder, is a role Kevin Hart turned down for fear of what others would think of him, but he still regrets not tackling the role. Hart previously told hosts of The Breakfast Club on Power 105.1 about the role. Quotes, this is what said. The dude, he was doing a lot of stud in the draft that I read. It was real flagrant. I can't play a gay character because I don't think I'm really going to dive into that role 100% because of the insecurities about myself trying to play that part. What I think people are doing to think while I'm trying to do this is going to stop me from playing that part the way I'm supposed to. Kill the Gays bill revived by Uganda government would impose death penalty on LGBTQ community. You know I'm going to say that again. Kill the Gays bill revived by Uganda government would impose death penalty on LGBTQ community. This story is coming out of Newsweek, October the 10th, 2019. And this is how it reads. The Ugandan government announced its plan to reintroduce a bill that would criminalize homosexuality with the death penalty. The bill, colloquially known as Kill the Gays, in Uganda was nullified by the Constitutional Court in 2014 on the technicality. But the government said its plan to resurrect the bill within weeks. Homosexuality is not natural to Ugandans, but there has been a massive recruitment by gay people in schools and especially among the youth, where they are promoting the falsehood that people are born like that. Ethics and Integrity Minister Simon Lokodo told Reuters. He went on to say that the current penal law is limited, making it clear that anyone involved in promotion and recruitment will be criminalized. Those that do grave acts will be given the death sentence, he said. Lokodo also said the bill is supported by President Yoweri Museveni. It will be reintroduced in Parliament in the coming weeks. He expects a vote to take place before the end of the year. Uganda faced widespread international condemnation when the previous bill was signed off by Museveni in 2014. Brian Wasawa, A Ugandan LGBTQ activist recently died on October 5th after he was attacked at his home in Jinja, a city on the Lake of Victoria that is roughly 2 hours east of the country's capital of Kampala. Pepe Julian Onizima from Sexual Minorities Uganda, an alliance of LGBTQ organizations, said its members were fearful. When the law was introduced last time, it whipped up homophobic sentiment and hate crimes, said Onizima. Onizima said 3 gay men and 1 transgender woman has been killed in homophobic attacks in Uganda this year. Violence against us has escalated in recent months. Countless community members have fled, and I fear it would only get worse, said Kasha Jacqueline Nabagarisara, founder of the Uganda LGBT community and advocacy group. We urgently need support from the international community if we are to stand up against the witch hunt being launched against us. In 2014, the United States reduced aid to Uganda in response to the first Kill the Gays bill, imposing visa restrictions and canceling military exercises. The World Bank, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, and the Netherlands also suspended or redirected aid. Last November, the anti-gay remarks by a senior official in Tanzania led to the nation's second biggest donor, Denmark, withholding $10 million in aid. Local those said foreign opinion is a concern, but Uganda is prepared for any negative response. The Trump administration earlier this year announced an initiative that urges countries to decriminalize consensual same-sex sexual relations. A State Department spokesperson on Thursday told the Washington Blade the United States government firmly opposes criminalization of LGBTI individuals. The spokesperson added the State Department stands with Uganda's LGBTI community and Ugandans of all backgrounds and belief to defend the dignity of all citizens. All right, so we are back. We just can you switch the screen, please? Thank you, sir. All right, so we back, right? So, what do you mean, Mr. Blurman? This is the answer. Well, maybe this is the answer that somebody has gotten, right? So I gave you some, right, background, right? One, we're going to talk about Kill the Gay bill that's in Uganda. 2, you heard that the brother, Brandon T. Jackson, I'm going to go ahead and give you that, get an image up there again for that, right? Right? It came out in the grill, and that Brandon T. Jackson had said that the Most High punished him for playing the gay rapper, right? So he felt like based on him taking on that role and other roles, right, that were similar to that role, that things haven't worked out well for him, right? He come to this intuition in himself that he felt like, because he also acknowledged that he is a Hebrew Israelite. And so based on, he talked about Deuteronomy 22:5, that says that a woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment. For whoever doeth these things is an abomination unto the Lord thy God, right? Should I say that again? Just in case you didn't hear it. It says in Deuteronomy 22:5 that a woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment, for whoever doeth these things is an abomination unto the Lord thy God. So, based on his understanding and learning of what he has through his scriptures, he felt like he went against the Most High. And for that, he's suffering careerly, and maybe there's some other things as well, right? And we see that he said on the show that I ain't never seen nor heard of, Tropic Thunder, he played a person called Al Pacino, right? Who is supposed to be a down low gay rapper. And he goes on to his rest of his work, which is in 2011, he did The Big Mama, Like Father, Like Son, Martin Lawrence. Now think about these titles and what they portraying, right? Think about that, right? You know, Big Mama. It's kind of like Medea, because, you know, he ended up talking about Medea. He said, well, somehow it really worked for him, but it don't work for me. And again, when you look at the LGBTQ, the alphabet, it's look like there's one letter that they're not, because I just heard I didn't look it up. I didn't get time. I need to look up what does that I mean now in the LGBT. I now is in there. No, a letter they don't got is H, heterosexual, right? So I guess that's exclusive. So you're discriminating against the heterosexuals, right? And so here's the individual who said, I'm playing these roles, but I can't really get in 100% because that's kind of like what black people was looking at when they talk about the Harriet Tubman. Allowing somebody who is not cut from the cloth of ADOS, BADOS. They said, well, an actress is an actress and whoever can play the role and is good can play it. No, but there's some things that needs to be resonated because it's portraying for something that is real. And everybody, again, wants to chime away and try to talk about anything that has to do with us to try to make it like, oh, it doesn't have nothing to do with that, right? So here's the individual who done got in tune with the spirit and realized that he went against the Most High, but he said for playing those roles, and maybe not so much of the playing the role in itself, it's also that it emanates from what he has played is being sent out to be inculcated into impressionable minds that think that this is okay, right? And just think about just recently of all the stuff we just seen recently, right? You've seen an individual who came back. Remember this individual here, Malik Yoba. Remember he talking about, not that he was coming out. Remember he said he liked transgender women, right? Now he's supposed to be an individual that came up at a particular time for New York Undercover. Those who liked that particular show, he was at that time again, like I said, there's always a black person in season. And so here's an individual who some people may have looked and tried to emulate and thought that this was the individual you're supposed to, follow behind, and then come later find out that he said, well, I'm not gay. I like transgender women. I'm not coming out. I'm stepping up, right? I'm saying that again. He said, I'm not coming out. I'm stepping up, right? So again, it's like a lot of the language that is being spoken is confusing to somebody who is, again, trying to find one's way through the forest, right? And here's a beacon of light that you think is a light, emanating light, illuminating like the light, and then come to find out it is not what you thought it was, right? And so they came up with that, and then they came with this individual, right? And they came with this individual behind that, right? Then you seen that one came out, right? Now you from where I'm from. Now again, I remember the Bubba Goose. It look like a Bubba Goose to me, right? That's Bubba Goose, man. They had the short body Bubba Goose, man. Shit, where I come from, cold in the motherfucker had I had the trench coat Bubba Goose. So anybody Bubba goes down to the damn ankle. I had one of them. You understand? But anyway, that's what that is. Bubba Goose down. That motherfucker probably warmed to the motherfucker though, but he ain't finna catch in that shit. But anyway, but they came out with that, right? And think about that. He said the new masculinity, right? Remember, this individual was talking about the new masculinity. But y'all got to remember that, how long you been watching this show over here. Let's go back. Rewind it all the way back. When that time when he got on, did that Oprah, he did the interview with Oprah. Remember what they doing? 'Cause I'm happy. Huh? Cause he's happy. Huh? Remember that, right? And then he got on with Oprah and then said, all this fruition and how you feeling? He started crying and all that other good stuff. And remember, and those who remember doing my show, remember that I said he called himself the new black. Yeah, that's right. He called about the new black. And I talked about this. Like, what is this talking about this new black? Ain't no such thing as no new black. See? So they know who to get, who to pick that's going to slide in, have the potential to feed in the plants of this seed, and other people just going to go along with it, right? Because he the one now trying to, let's say, advertise new masculinity. There ain't no such thing as that. It is what it is. There ain't no, you know what I'm saying? New masculinity is what? So you say, showing your feminine side. To have balance, ma'at. Right? That's what they say. Hey, get that. But see, you see what Brandon T. Jackson said, right? But we're not going to listen to what Brandon T. Jackson said. Right? Because what Brandon T. Jackson said is not what nobody trying to hear. Because again, I even seen him in some of the Alphabet People magazine, and they're going to probably criticize him on that. So I'm just going to say, because telephone ring, I want to finish it up, but I don't want to cut off because it won't be messed up. So you tell me what y'all think. Because again, the Uganda, let's put it this way before I get up out of here, because that phone ringing in there. In Uganda, if you go to Uganda, they have revitalized that one, saying they got killed a gay bill. Now, this ain't against anybody, because again, most of us have individuals in our family, people in our family. It ain't we hate them, might not like lifestyle. Again, H is not part of the Alphabet People, right? They castigate, making it like something wrong with us and us being who we is. But everybody want to actually take your place and try to get you to be watered down. So this is what I'm saying is, maybe the whole thing is about getting you to be watered down, then they will have less problems, right? But again, as you see the brother Brandon T. Jackson said, that the Most High said, you better stand what it is. Also in them verses in that 20, talking about war and them coming at you and not having fear, right? So, what to go long and deep enough, but the telephone ringing, y'all got to get up out of here. So, again, you tell me what y'all on, what y'all talking about, what you thinking, if there's anything to be said. And that's going to conclude for this show. Damn, I hate the fact that it cut me short on that. But I got to do this. I got to take care of this anyway. So again, like, subscribe, share, comment, dislike. You know what I'm saying? It's all, it's EEOC over here. I can get it too, just give me what you think. So again, I want to thank each and every one of you for your participation, clicking on, coming over here. And again, this is the most hated show on the Black Corner YouTube. Hit that for me, sir. Let's get it going. All right, get it going? All right, there we go. All right, so, again, like I said, tell me what you think. I went through a little scenario. We talked about how we set it up in New York, how nobody want to give recognition to it. Individual who is in government want to tell black people, comply, capitulate, to keep yourself from being shot in your head, and then we're going to just ignore the fact of all this other stuff that's taking place. So maybe just the remedy for that, for you, Mr. Black Man, is you need to learn to get with your feminine side so you can wear the bubble down goose jacket, or the bubble down goose dress. Instead of you coming out, you just stepping on up. But better not have the revelations of a Brandon T. Jackson. That ain't what they want. They want you to be that way. So again, see one another. Greet your brother. What's good, brother? What's good, sister? You can't do that much. Please get a universal nod. Understand we got to get all this strife, envy, jealousy, and hatred out our ass, and understand that we is all we got. Understand that there's some people amongst us who got allies, but you better tell them to ask them two simple questions. One, when shit get hot, and if shit get hot, you still gonna be down here in the frying pan with us? Two, if you ever ask them if they ever heard of Jim Brown, John Brown. And if they have, is that something that white folks just told us to make us believe that some white folks went all out, crazy eyed, going against his own people in behalf of the injustice that happened to black people? Or that's just a mythology story? Because I've never seen the movie John Brown, but I did see the movie Django. So know that the time is dawning, that those some of those who are looking for our demise. So it is incumbent that we stay cautious, vigilant, and high spirit. And again, until the next show, I am your host, your brother, Mr. Blows Your Minds. Until the next show, peace, love. Until the next show, y'all.